Hi folks, I've just put this together today. Kids were asking me for a guitar to play with, so I found this tin. Well, I didn't find it, stole it from my wife, and I've put this together. It took me about 4 hours with filming and other stuff. It took about 6 I think, and it's, what time is it now? It's 4 o'clock. Yeah, I started about 8 o'clock this morning, and I've had my dinner and interruptions and other things, but yeah, so I built this. I've gone as basic as I can, so I could do it as quick as I could, get it finished in the day. And I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out. I might have to do a couple of changes. Well, not changes, but I'm going to put a couple of screws in there, swell the lid down a bit, and cut some grooves in this key because the strings are sliding a bit on it when you're going down neck. But I'll give it a blast and see what you think. Video's quite long because I've actually posted build after this bit. If you want to watch build, you can. If you don't, we'll watch something else. Switch it on. Difficult to play upside down. But there you go. So, the hart box guitar. So, what I've got is a biscuit tin. My wife likes tins, and she brought this one home and I stole it. Because I thought it'd make a great looking guitar just for fun. A stick. You always need a stick. I've got some tuners. I've got a few strings, there'll be a few more little bits and pieces that I'll have to put together with some screws and stuff, but I'll try and film up or most of the process and any important parts. I know a lot of guys know how to make these, but there's a lot of guys who look at my videos who are, well, they don't make them, but they might like to, so it might help. So, I'll be back in a minute. So, I've got some parts together. I'm using these 3 tuners. These are all second hand stuff what I pick up from shops, well, guitar shops or fairs or whatever I can find. I don't tend to, I try not to buy any new ones. They're very expensive to get here. Can't find them, or I have to post them in and they charge you loads on tax. So, everything I'm using here is second hand. Apart from that, that's jack plug's new. And that's piezo's new. The only ones I can get here come in a case. I'm going to strip case off that because I want to be able to plug it in. So that's that. What I've got to do is lay neck out, and basically by that I want to find out where my nut is, find out my 12th is, and work out length on it, but I'll show you what I mean. And make sure I've got enough for these to fit, enough space for the tuners to fit in. From personal experience, I usually go for about 12. Well, 14's good because it will give me a bit of extra play on head. And what I'm going to do with this, although I've got a bandsaw and some other power tools, I'm going to try and do it all by hand tools. Well, I'm going to do it all with hand tools, so that's how easy it is. It's going to be very simple, very basic. This is a bit of a new challenge for me because it's a tin, but I'm sure I'll figure out a way to sort that out. And let's go. So what I'm basically going to do now is mark these out. I've just marked them out and measured them out, so I didn't bother filming that bit. But that's my nut. Now if this head's 14 centimeters long, I'm working in centimeters, guys. I can work in inches, but I work in centimeters all the time now, so it makes it a little bit easier for me when I'm explaining it. So, I hope you can see that. I've just basically evenly spaced it. Now, because that's my nut, I'm going to mark that as nut. so I don't forget and cut it wrong or drill an hole there where I don't want an hole. So they're nice and evenly spaced. 3 centimetres good. They're at 3.5 just because it's 14 divided by 4, so it gives you your points. And these are Fender style, so basically you have to have a bit more space because I've got to be able to get them together. They're all run on one side. Another important measurement is obviously where you want it. You want probably a little bit, that's in inches. So from centre of that, am I in? Yeah. From centre of that, which is about there, the centre of my hole, I can go about 12 millimetres, which is just there. And if I put that as a centre, gives me clearance for turning, for tuning, so that's where my holes are going to be at 12. These are 10s, so I need to bore 10mm hole for that. But actually they're a little bit smaller, so they just fit in snug. They don't all come like this either, so everything's different really. The depth as well is important, depending on what you've got. If I screw that in fully, so it's full amount, then you can see that measurement. That is 14, so that 14 is my minimum depth, if you know what I mean. That's my that's the minimum thickness for the head, because obviously if I do it at 12 or do it there, then these are never going to tighten up. So minimum 14, probably go for 16 thickness on here. I'll just carry on laying this out. Now what I've got here, it's piezo. Now what I've got to do is take a centre wire off and wire front rim and wire red and black to that. Red for centre, black for rim. That's my live and me earth, and wire it up to this plug. I'm just downstairs, got soldering irons here, it's easier to do it sat down, and then I can test it as well on amp. I'll just do this. I'm going to transfer this nut a square. You might need a square. I'm going to transfer this nut measurement or to this side. I'll do all the way around that. Well, not the way around, but both sides. And I've got to work out my thickness of my neck now. So, the thickness of this, which I said minimum's 14, so I might even just go 16. That gives me something to play with. So that's basically going to be thickness. I've left myself some play now just for sanding and stuff like that basically, and what I've also got to do is consider if that's my exact nut, depending on what I'm using for a nut. I'm not going to cut up, I'm not going to get rid of all this wood from here. I'm going to leave myself, I believe, a centimetre. So what I've left is a centimetre. Reason for that is my nut's going to sit on top of this bit, what I've left in. So what I've done now is I've marked all pieces out. Now that's my bridge, that's where the bridge is going to go. I'll explain this as I go along. This is about a 62 centimetre scale. And the most important thing is your nut, your 12th fret and your bridge, because the 12th fret here is exactly half of this, and that's what decides where these are. As I say, I'll put all measurements up for this scale, but you can find other scales. And what I've got, reason I've put the bridge on here is because I want to orientate it so I can find out where it's going to go through box or tin. In actual fact, just with that piece of wood, that attached to it, that'll play. You know what I mean? That's as basic as you can go, I think. A stick and some strings, but if you electrify it, it'll play great. You do get a bit of feedback from these, but they're cheap and it's fun. But as I said, the 12, the bridge and the nut, what I've got to do is remember that I'm doing it. I've got to build this right-handed as well, because my kids are right-handed, I'm left-handed, so it gives me, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes orientating it. But if you imagine, I'm going to put it through here like this, and I've got to have enough room, well, to get my bridge on, and I could probably keep it as back as that, as far back as that, not to cover the little girl's face. I think that's pretty good actually. So I'll just put a mark on that by eye from above, and a mark on that by eye from above. Mark them up. And that's basically where my box are going to go. Now, I say every one of these are different, so I mean you've got to, you know, have a look at what you're working with. I've never made one out of tin, so I'm going to have some challenges here. Next thing I've got to mark up on this, its tail end. I'm not bothered about it. I can cut this off, I can give it the length of piece of wood then, but this is going to run through because there's no strength in that. That's nothing to do with guitar, that's just for looks. You'll get a bit of sound out of it. Hopefully it'll sound like a banjo. A little bit tinnier. I've got to put my tail piece on for where my string's going to go through. I'll measure it, not just do it by eye. So say I go 4 centimetres from widest point there. Now this is a neck is 40, so it's quite easy. 1, 2, 3. A bit more space. 1, 2, 3. So that's where my strings are running through. You can see, yep. I might extend that a little bit, but what I've done is I've just staggered them, put 2 outside strings, a centimetre difference, gone a centimetre other way with that one. It looks nicer, and if you're not dead in line, it covers a multitude of sins. What I'm also going to do is on this bridge, I'm going to leave space here. I'll leave some wood on there, and I'll leave that wood on from there and here. And this stuff I'm going to remove just so I might get a little bit of resonance off at the top. Basically I'll just take about 5mm out of it, up to there. It will come straight though, it's easier. Rubber's always good. That's to remove. So what I've got here is a 5mm bit. Hope the battery's charging up on this. Could use a drill press, I've got one, but I'm trying to do it as simple as possible.
Trying to do this as smooth as possible. And
on my sacrificial bit of foam. Man.
so
You try and keep it as straight as possible, got a bit of pull out on back. Be better if I'd have put a piece of wood under, but and what happens is they'll go in there, bit of glue, and that'll stop the strings from digging into wood. 10mm, put a piece of sacrificial wood behind it. Now, if you've got a drill press it works a lot better. I have got one, but as I said, you've got to be very careful now about keeping it nice and straight and level. I'm not particularly worried whether it comes out particularly well. If it comes out perfect, it's an handmade guitar, something what kids are going to have to play with, so it doesn't really matter, you know. But the best you can do is all you can do. My battery run out. So after a quick battery change, actually that turned out a lot better with sacrificial wood. That's not a problem, clean that up. But it's better if you don't have to. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut this back. Now basically, my note on this is going to be a piece of threaded bar, which is quite common with these sorts of guitars, and I want it to sit centrally in that. So what I'm going to do is cut this back and remove this bit here, leaving that for when the bridge is going to sit so it doesn't dint into the top of the box. And what I'm going to do is cut it down to size with this, an hacksaw. A lot of people have got one of these, you might have got one of these, you might have got a junior hacksaw, but any saw you've got will do the job. Hacksaws are pretty good for cutting wood, they leave a nice edge. Not that you're going to see much of it, you will do on head stock, but here under box you're not going to see anything. And all I'm going to do is cut slices out of it, down to my depth. So, I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to cut all along here. I'm not going to make you watch me do that. So I've slotted that. So I'm going to I drilled the holes first because it's a bit pain in the bum to mark it out again. From thing I could have marked them from behind, I suppose, and drilled it, but I didn't. So I'm going to knock them out with a chisel. Knock that out with a chisel. It's very simple. You could even use a screwdriver, but you really need a chisel to finish that off. or some sandpaper. But then again, finish is up to you. You can spend hours on these, or you can make one in 2 or 3 hours, you know what I mean. You could spend days even, you know, depending what sort of results you want. My batteries have just run out onto the camera, I'll show you, but I've cut that at an angle now just to make it look a bit more, and I'm going to carry on chiseling it until I get a reasonable finish on it. And that one can be left pretty rough, but I'll just tidy it up a little bit. Well, I've been going at that with chisel, scraper and some sandpaper. That's pretty good now. A little bit of a bump there, but I'm going to round edges off anyway. Now what I'm going to do is round back at neck up. What I'll try and do is get the other camera now. Hopefully there's a bit of charging battery. So as I said, done a bit of work on that. I'll give that a rough tidy up. It's rough, you're never going to see it. What I'm going to try and do now is just round edges off on back and round these edges off, but I'll do that after. But just a bit of shaping on back at neck. A lot of stuff you can use to do this. I've got some files, chisel, if you're careful, just taking it. If you've got your chisel, look at which way your wood's going, but you can chisel it back and just round edges off nicely. So before I go any further with the neck, what I'll do is just work out and try and cut this tin in. This should be fun. I've got a few thoughts about it as it goes, but we will see how we go. Now you can see that what I've done is marked it. That's my actual size, outer line, and that's the size I'm going to cut to, the inner line. Again, reason being I'm going to fold it in the tin, and hopefully that'll get a better grip on the neck and make it a bit safer. Now if there's any bits that are stuck out, that are sharp, I'll file them back a bit and put some epoxy over them or super glue, which should just stop them from raising up and hurting anybody. So, marked it on both sides. That's the lid and the base. You can see that, yeah, no, yeah it is. And I'm going to snip it with some snips. Now because I've gone inside, if these don't work too well on this, then if they don't work too well on it, then what I'll be able to do, I've still got plenty of meat to play with, I can cut a little bit more off, I can do a bit of hacksaw, I can play about with it. Bear with me. Lovely. Now this is obviously going to make this lid very floppy because this rims the integrity of it, so I want to be pretty careful when I'm bending it. So I've got it to fit. It's not too bad, I might have to do a little bit more tweaking. Fits alright there. Just make sure I can get lid back on. What I'll do with lid is I'll put some screws around the rim and hopefully that'll stop it rattling, because I'm guessing it's going to rattle. So that's that fitted. What I'm going to do a bit of hand sanding on neck now, round them edges off, round the marks off, get rid of pencil marks. Yeah, just put it the wrong way. Like I said, orientation. That's the position I want it. And there you go, a right-handed guitar. It's that easy. So I just spent a couple of minutes sanding it, getting it a once over, taking short bits off, just taking edges off, having a quick look round. That one could do with a bit more sanding. As I say, I'm not going nuts on this. Rounded ends off. That where I pulled out at back at neck, because I didn't put a piece of sacrificial wood under it, I've just countersunk them. I'll just rub that out with a bit of sandpaper, and that's pretty much neck done. So I'm just going to put markers on for 12, well, for all frets, and I'll put box together. What I've got to do is wire piezo up. I'll show you how I do that. It's very easy. So I've wired that up. It's very sensitive. You could hear an ant walk across it if you let an ant walk across it. I might just do a video on that for a later date. But basically, your live goes to your centre pin, which on your jack. Let me just turn it off and I'll show you. Your red, your live goes to your centre pin in the middle, and your black goes to this port. This has got 3 pins on it because it's got a switch on it, but don't need that one. I've just notched that out and just thrown some markers on with a marker pen, just for actual fret markers. Gives you an idea where they are basically. I'm going to put some points down sides as well so you can corrugate them, and I'm going to give this a quick coat with some acrylic. I found some acrylic and it dries really quick, so I'm going to give this a quick coat and then I'm going to put it all together. I fitted jack plug to the box with the piezo. What I've done on back there is put a bit of double-sided tape so that it doesn't spin and it sticks better. You have to be very careful, you can over tighten them and it's a bit of a pain when they come loose and they're spinning. You turn your wires off, it has happened before. So a bit of glue, anything silicone, anything like that. I'm just trying double-sided on this. I will be able to take top off this quite easy. And I'm going to fit these machine nuts, and if you look, they've got 2 little pegs, they ain't got screws on these. So I've put them in, just tapped them with rubber hammer or a normal hammer with a piece of wood, just so I've got the marks, and I'm going to drill them out, fit them on. I fitted the rivets to the tail piece. I just cleaned holes out again after I've put, because this has got a clear coat on it, acrylic clear coat, so, and it gets into holes a little bit, it stops your machines from going in. So I'll drill that out and get it put together, see if we can get a tune out of it next hour. So machine nuts fitted, 10mm ratchet. All I've done is finger tight, don't need any more than that, as long as they don't come undone. That seated alright. So this is where I am so far. Got them fitted. I'm going to use that for my bridge. I haven't put top on yet. I'm going to use that for my bridge. Cut a piece of this threaded Barfoot nut. Just got a screw top on. Again, piezo. I've fitted to the neck here, just in front of the bridge. Stuck it down again with double sticky tape. And should be playing this in a bit. I'm just going to screw it to fit top on. And I've drilled some holes around it, and I'm just going to put some of these little round-headed screws on it and see how it looks. So that's that. I'm just going to string it up now, get a test drive. That's just a bit of threaded bar that's held in here with just friction, just because it pull on strings. Now if I haven't got enough tension to keep the strings in place, then I might have to epoxy that we will see. And I might have to put some hoops in or something for a string tree. I have trouble with that word. I'm going to try this key out as the bridge, see what it sounds like, and if it sounds alright I'll leave it, if not I'll put something else in. Now we're right about these edges, I've got to sort something out with these before I let kids have a go on this. It'd be alright for me to play right now, but kids would probably stick their fingers everywhere. I'll put some screws in around it. But I'll string it up and give it a go.